Welcome back to Food for Thought. Today, we are heading into World War II. Soldiers on the front lines are eating a bit better, but those at home are playing the ration game. For Europe, World War II began 2 years before it started for the United States. The U.S. joined the war after the bombing of Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. Shortly after our declaration of war, the United States began to mobilize, and the Homefront began to shift into creating a society geared for war. Factories began to change from manufacturing household goods to producing weapons and planes. Car manufacturers began to focus on the production of tanks and jeeps. These two photographs, pulled from the museum's Allison photograph collection, give a glimpse into the production power of the United States during World War II. But when the production of a country is focused on winning a large-scale war, the citizens must sacrifice at home. In 1943, the U.S. government began to take control of the supply and demand aspects of American economy, and reducing the amount of material goods that were made available to the American public. The War Production Board was created to control supply and demand, and to determine how Americans could assist the demand for military supplies and needed materials. Their propaganda prodded the American people at home using both serious and humorous imagery to work hard to produce the materials needed to win the war, while doing with less at home. The first step for the government was to instill the importance of recycling into the minds of the American public. They encouraged people to take things from their trash and bring them to specially designated areas, much like today, and recycle these items so they could be remade into vital materials for the military. This was the most noteworthy area of citizen involvement. It created a sense of unity and participation in the wartime effort. Citizens were asked to save a variety of materials, including tin, aluminum, copper, rubber, and even waste fat and bones. Celebrities would host aluminum collection parties, there were collection drives, and of course, the propaganda posters spread the word artistically. Wartime propaganda posters and artwork played on American emotions and sense of patriotism and loyalty to encourage a nationwide effort towards becoming a society and nation geared towards a wartime economy and production. Wartime propaganda also used celebrities to influence U.S. citizens. Recognize a couple of faces on one of these posters? Along with asking civilians to produce and save their scraps, a ration on food supplies was put into place. Ration stamps were used to allow everyone to get an equal amount of groceries. This ration meant that items like cheese and meat were a rare commodity. In response to these shortages, housewives had to find alternatives for their families. One such alternative was Kraft macaroni and cheese. 80 million boxes of mac and cheese were sold in 1943 because you could buy 2 boxes for 1 ration stamp. One of the most popular fresh meat alternatives was Spam, because it could last. And many families observed meatless meals to help in the conservation effort. Each eligible member of a household received 1 ration book. In the book, there were stamps for sugar, meats, butter, fats, oils, and cheese. Canned foods, bottled and frozen fruits, juices, vegetables, dry beans, baby foods, ketchup, and soups. The colors of the stamps indicated for what they were to be used. In 1943, the books contained 4 pages of red stamps, meat and fats, and 4 pages of blue stamps, approximately 384 stamps. Each stamp had a point value and would be used alongside cash to pay for groceries. Want a little taste of rationing? Play the ration game. You will need to plan a special meal for a family of 4 when your son comes home from war after being injured. He will need to return to duty the next day, so be sure to feed him as well as you can. You'll have $2 and 48 ration stamps to spend. But remember, you'll need ration stamps and money for the rest of the month too. Think you can feed your soldier well and have enough left over for the rest of the month? Visit our website to download materials for the game and find out. Because it was all hands on deck for war production, labor and transportation shortages occurred, making fresh fruits and vegetables harder to buy. To counter this shortage, the U.S. government encouraged American families to plant victory gardens, as they had done during the First World War. This time, nearly 20 million families began planting gardens and canning and preserving their own produce. Victory gardens helped to ease the burden of rationing, and many neighborhoods benefited from cooperatives and a sense of helping out during the war. We hope you are enjoying this series. We will return to World War II in our next episode and venture overseas to see how the U.S. soldiers are filling their bellies. There are definitely some improvements over the last 2 wars. Chocolate bars and Cokes, anyone? Now that's some food for thought.